And let's start with those COVID jabs. Are they going to be scrapped?
Well, this is a policy that we've always kept under review, and we've been trying to strike, throughout this pandemic, the right balance between having the maximum impact in terms of measures that support public safety in the face of the virus, but also have the minimum impact in terms of our wider freedoms as a society. And it's in that context that the decision was made last autumn to make sure that we went ahead with the mandatory vaccination policy. And that was because, obviously, we had the Delta variant, extremely dangerous, taking a huge toll on our society. And we wanted to make sure that people going into hospital, very vulnerable people, whether they had COVID or another condition which required treatment, weren't going to be faced with an increased risk of infection on the wards. We continue to monitor that situation very, very closely. What we know about Omicron is that it is much more transmissible, but less severe. Any decision that's taken this week will reflect that reality. I can't prejudge the decision that is going to be made, but obviously we do recognise those realities, and that does open a space where we can look at this again.
Fulsome answer. I want to play you this grab and see whether this is why there was the change of heart. Here we go.
Maybe there's an opportunity to reconsider with Omicron and the changing picture, or at least to nuance it and allow doctors who've had antibody exposure, who've got antibodies, who haven't had the vaccination, to not have it.
There you go. So he was challenged. The Health Secretary was embarrassed. Around 80,000 healthcare workers are still unvaccinated. What's going to happen to them now?
Well, it has to be seen in the wider context. There are 1.2 million full-time equivalent staff in the NHS. That's actually gone up 45,000 over the last year. So it's a well-staffed service. But obviously,
it's not a well-staffed service at all. It's very short-staffed.
Well, actually, it's not. It's got 45,000 more full-time equivalent staff in it than it had.
40,000 care staff lost their jobs because they hadn't been vaccinated.
Well, look, that's separate from the NHS. We've got 45,000 more staff than we had a year ago. 1.2 million in total full-time equivalent. And we always want to make sure those numbers stay.
Lost their jobs,
we always want to make sure that those numbers stay as robust as they can possibly be, and that we can provide the best possible care. But we also, as I say, have to balance that against the reality that if you are not vaccinated, then you do obviously pose more of a threat both to yourself, your colleagues, and to patients. And that is the stark reality of a highly transmissible, very dangerous virus. That's why we have taken the measures we have. Obviously, when it comes to Omicron and the fact that the virus has mutated, we continue to monitor the impact of wider policy.
So what about those people, those 80,000 healthcare workers who are still waiting to find out whether they're going to keep their jobs or not from April? What's going to happen?
Well, there will be a decision made in the course of the next few days, and that opens the window, as I say, for us to look at this. NHS waiting lists for key treatments going up as a result of the backlog in care flowing from the pandemic. The NHS and social care levy, that is going to allow us to do 9 million more scans, checks and operations, things which will bear down on that backlog, make sure we can get back to normal, and also address what we all know to be the long-term challenge of an ageing society in terms of a sustainable solution to social care.
Steady on. The Tory Manifesto 2019, we promise not to raise the rates of income tax, national insurance or VAT. This is a tax guarantee that will protect the incomes of hard-working families across the next Parliament.
Yeah, and look, I'm a low-tax Conservative. I think everyone who stood on that manifesto was proud of the fact that we committed not to raise taxes. But no one could have reckoned with the impact of what we've seen over the last 2 years. It's been an extraordinary event. We've spent over £400 billion responding to coronavirus, and obviously that's allowed us to both keep the health service running, but also to introduce things like the furlough scheme, which have saved literally millions of jobs. It's in that context that we've incurred these huge debts. It's in that context as well that we've accumulated these NHS backlogs, and we have to be honest with people. We can either pay for more treatments by whacking up borrowing, which is just taxes deferred for the next generation, or we can deal with it responsibly now.
Here's a thought. Why don't we do this instead? Why don't we use that 350 million quid a week that we were promised that would amount to £18.2 billion a year for our National Health Service, which we heard so much about during Brexit, which is £6.2 billion more than what the National Insurance rise will get. I'm not sure if we've got a picture of the bus just to make the point.
Well, I mean, as someone who supported Brexit, I'm delighted that we're no longer sending that money to Brussels. But
we were told that it was going to be used.
And indeed, if you remember, Theresa May in 2018 specifically did repurpose.
It's on the side of the bus.
Yeah, and that money is now in the NHS. This is the point. Theresa May unleashed a record funding settlement.
Miscalculated.
No, because we've got more of a backlog in the NHS than anyone knew. But for the 70th anniversary of the NHS back in 2018,
all of that money went to the NHS.
We gave a record
penny
we gave
that you promised on the side of that bus.
We gave a funding settlement to the NHS which was actually larger than that sum, and that was Theresa May's announcement back in 2018.
OK, so the people that are facing a 10% increase in their national insurance contributions, someone earning £30,000 will now pay £270 more a year, given that the cost of living is increasing, given that the heating their homes is just going to be almost impossible for so many people, going up perhaps £1,000. Where are they going to find the money from?
Well, the cost of living is a major issue. It's important, though, to be clear about what the health and social care levy will cost. The 6 million lowest earners won't pay anything extra. And the top 15% of earners will pay almost half the cost of the policy. So it's a very progressive policy. For your average taxpayer, this is a question of literally £3 or £4 more per week. In the context of bearing down on this huge backlog, as I say, of accumulated waiting lists, we have to make sure that we can fund that sustainably. So as I say, the only alternative...
Every single penny will go to the National Health and Social Care?
It will, yes. This is an entirely dedicated tax for those purposes. It goes nowhere else.
Why should we believe you when you've lied to us before?
Well, with respect, Kay, I haven't. And
when I say you, I meant you're representing the government this morning. Well, so collectively, I've just showed you how you did.
We didn't lie. We made a commitment.
Economical with the actuality.
No, we made a commitment in 2019 that we weren't going to raise taxes. That was before a global pandemic, which has cost hundreds of thousands of lives. It's accumulated an enormous backlog in care, and we have to make responsible decisions. I think a Conservative government will always take the fiscally responsible route, and it is simply irresponsible for us to say we're going to whack all of this on our debt when we know that is already extremely large, at a record high, and crucially when a 1% rise in interest rates would cost us an extra £23 billion a year.
Is the Prime Minister always honest with us?
He is.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I'm very proud to be a member of his government.
OK, so the fact that he has basically said that he wasn't aware of parties at Number 10, it's been proven that not only was he aware of them, but he was also at them. It's also been proven that he misled Parliament. Let's not overcomplicate the matter. Given what we're hearing Sue Gray's been investigating, the police are investigating, he should just resign. No,
well, look, the Sue Gray report will come forward soon, and obviously I don't know exactly when. That's a matter for Sue Gray to decide. And when she does, the Prime Minister's been clear he will come to Parliament to make a further statement based on all the facts. But look, the Prime Minister is a good man, he's a good leader. And I think I think it's very important that we allow an independent.
Sacked twice for lying.
I think
once from a national newspaper and once by Michael Howard.
I think it is absolutely vital that we don't prejudge what Sue Gray is going to say, or indeed what the Met Police are investigating.
My point is, you said he doesn't lie, and I've made a point. I've just illustrated twice.
I have total confidence in the Prime Minister.
But you said he didn't lie.
And I do not believe that he does lie.
OK, so why did you think he was sacked by the Times for lying?
I don't know.
By Michael Howard for lying.
I don't know the circumstances.
I've just illustrated how
I don't know the circumstances of the Prime Minister's previous employment. OK, that's simply.
Michael Howard works for the Conservative Party.
Look, the decisions about who was on the shadow front bench 15 years ago and the precise circumstances which surrounded any of those
If there were lies
decisions
that were made 15 years ago, they don't count then?
OK, what I'm saying is that we've got to wait for a Sue Gray report.
OK, talk to me about what's going on as far as Russia is concerned. We're told that there'll be new sanctions coming forward quite soon. Tory party do take quite a lot of money off the Russians, don't they?
Well, any donations which are received by any politician from any party have to be from UK donors. No one in British politics can take money from foreign donors.
Of course.
And any such declarations have to be properly declared. On the wider Russia situation, it's really important, I think, that we're clear today. It is obviously very serious, and we are keeping a very watchful eye on what's happening in the Ukraine. And any decision by the Russian government to invade would be a disastrous act on their part, which would incur the harshest possible
Talking
sanctions.
about the sanctions, though, and the Russia report, much delayed until after the last election, finally in July of 2020, the UK welcomed Russian money and few questions, if any, were asked about the provenance of the considerable wealth.
Well, the UK is one of the most robust money laundering regimes in the world.
I'm glad you said that, because let me put this to you then. No one has done more to channel the flood of money out of Russia than London's army of lawyers, bankers and accountants.
Well, look, we obviously continue to monitor the challenges which flow from the fact that London is one of the world's primary financial centres, and obviously that is a challenge as well as a huge asset to the United Kingdom that we are such a financial hub. When it comes to the wider impact of Russian money, we continue, as I say, always to monitor the situation, and we are very clear that if Russia takes further action against the Ukraine, then we will further tighten the sanctions regimes, targeting those businesses and people with the closest links to the Kremlin.
Boris Johnson has been very close to oligarchs in his career. 2014, he £160,000 donation to the Conservative Party by a former Russian minister's wife so that she could play tennis with him and David Cameron.
Well, anyone who donates to any political party has to be a UK national. That is the reality of the laws that we have in place. Those laws are scrupulously respected by the Conservative Party, as indeed I would hope they are by all political parties.
Let me put this last point to you, if I may, and then I must let you go. Again, from the Russia report, a member of the committee that looked into it, Stuart Hosey, said there had been no assessment of Russian interference in the EU referendum, and that goes back to nobody wanting to touch this issue with a 10-foot pole. He said it was astonishing that the UK government didn't seek to protect the referendum by looking into potential interference. So you weren't very interested before Brexit. Well, why should we believe you now?
There's two things to say about that. One is that Stuart Hosey is an SNP MP, and we know the SNP's position.
What does that mean?
We know the SNP's position on Brexit, which is obsessionally against. The other thing to say is that Brexit Britain.
Are you rubbishing the Russia report?
Brexit Britain is one of the foremost opponents of the actions of the Putin regime. And if you look at the EU, it is countries like Germany who are dragging their feet when it comes to the response to this crisis. We are the ones tightening the sanction regime, making sure we support our NATO allies and standing up to Putin in a way which, frankly, is leading the continent rather than following it.
Alok Sharma, Dominic Raab, Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, Brandon Lewis, all took money directly from the Russians or via their constituency offices in order to continue in power.
Sorry.
Are you saying that's
no
not true?
one has taken money from the Russians. Let's be very clear about this.
People who are Russian?
No, people who are British citizens.
Okay.
It is vital we establish that distinction. It is simply not true
people
to say
who
that we
made
have
money in Russia, Russian oligarchs.
One needs to be a UK national, a British citizen, in order to make a donation. Any such donations are properly scrutinised and declared as part of our legal process.
And any of those people having links to Russia, do you think?
Okay, look, there's nothing wrong with any person in business having a link with any country, as long as it's legally acquired wealth, and how they choose to spend it at that point is a matter for them. But
even if it's £160,000 to play tennis with Boris Johnson.
Well, look at the situation with Barry Gardner and the Chinese a few weeks ago. The idea
doesn't make it right.
But to be very clear, the idea that this is some sort of unique Conservative Party problem, it is not. There is always a challenge about making sure that we have a proper declaration regime in place.
It is a problem, then?
No, look, to be clear, there will always rightfully be scrutiny on this.
You accept that the coffers of the Conservative Party will suffer if you bring in new sanctions?
No, what I would say very clearly is that there is a need to make sure that all donations are properly declared, which they are. There is always a need to make sure that these things are properly scrutinised, which they can be. Right. But it is also not true to say that this is Russian money. These are British citizens making donations to political parties of their choice. That is their right. And I think it is important we don't muddy the waters on this issue. No. To do so is to undermine a wider faith in politics. I believe British politics to be fundamentally clean. And I think it is important we establish that reality.
Absolutely. It's good to talk to you. Sadly, we're out of time. Thank you.